Hey, I'm Molly Payton and this is The Hardest Part.
Hello, and welcome to The Hardest Part, the show that unravels the stories behind the most challenging songs ever written. I'm Kieron Banerji, and joining me in the studio on this episode is Molly Payton. Now, when I spoke to her about her song, You're On Your Own This Time, again, she shared why it was so deeply personal because it was written about her father, who was arrested when she was 18. Molly explained that she wrote the lyrics after her first visit to him in prison, a time when she was struggling to process everything that had happened. The weight of it all made it too difficult to speak about publicly, so she put the song on hold. Over a year later, while back in her childhood home in New Zealand, she began writing and recording a new project, and it suddenly felt like the right time to finish this song. Although she had other tracks that touched on her relationship with her father, none had directly addressed it like this one. When she completed the track, she said that she found the experience incredibly cathartic and freeing. Molly mentioned that after finishing this song and the rest of the album, she felt a new sense of freedom that she hadn't ever had before. And make sure to stay tuned to hear the whole track at the end of this episode, but before that, here's my chat with Molly.
Yeah, the song is called You're On Your Own This Time Again. It's the title track of my debut full-length album, Yoyota. And I wrote the lyrics when I was about 18. My dad got arrested and sent to prison when I was still living at home and kind of just starting out in music. And it was obviously crazy and unexpected and kind of flipped my life upside down. And I wrote the lyrics to the song after visiting him in prison for the first time. And then I just never did anything with him for, I think, 2 years until I recorded this album, and then I decided it was time.
So after that visit, you wrote the lyrics and shelved them for a while. Was it because it was too hard to finish that song?
Obviously, it was very personal and I hadn't really processed any of it, and I wasn't ready to speak about it in front of people, but also there was the fear of alienating my listeners because it's not exactly something that everyone goes through all the time. And I thought I think at the time I thought that people had to directly relate to lyrics to connect with a song, which obviously isn't true. And yeah, when I came to recording this album, had just returned to the house I grew up in. And we recorded a lot of it in that house, and there were a lot of memories, tied to him there. And I just, suddenly felt ready to revisit it.
What was the spark? What was the moment when you decided you wanted to pick it back up? Was it because you thought you were ready at this point to finish it?
I was in a session with a good friend of mine, Lucian Rice, who's an amazing musician. And he and I were just playing around some chords, and sometimes if I can't think of anything new, I'll go back through old words, and I just took a random scroll and clicked the page on my notes that I'd written the lyrics in, and the lyrics just fit perfectly with the chord progression we were doing. So it was honestly just chance that I think I had landed on the right page, I guess, because I'd forgotten it existed. And I just didn't overthink it, and it worked perfectly with what we were playing around with in the studio, and yeah, the rest is history.
Do you still have a relationship with your father?
I'm sure I probably will again at some point. I'm taking a bit of time off now because when everything was happening, I never really got space to deal with that. I just stayed in contact because the rest of my family was in New Zealand and I was the only one over here that he could be in touch with. So I became I guess his support through it, which is a really weird vibe. Now that I'm a bit older, I've realised that I think I just need a bit of time apart to figure out, I guess, who I am outside of what happened, and also if I even want to have him back in my life. So that's what I'm doing. But obviously love doesn't just go away when someone does something bad. It stays. One of the hard truths of life, I've realised. So yeah, I'm not going to say I'll never speak to him again, but I'm figuring it out.
I'm more than the man I used to want to grow up to be. I feel
feel sick when you say you see yourself in me. When I visited you, you couldn't look me in the eyes. Time's been cruel to you, and I guess so have I. When I can't stand to see you hurt, even after what you've done.
As far as the sort of positioning of the song, you know, is it a song really for you and to help you process through how you feel about it, or is it a song for him, a song that you want him to hear?
It's definitely for me. I did show it to him when I kind of came to finishing the album, because I had a bit of fear about it coming out and him feeling, I don't know, that thing of like, you don't want to hurt someone even, you know, even if you're angry at them. But I don't know, I'm not an angry person. I often like get sad about things before I feel anger. And I think it was one of the rare moments where I just genuinely felt so just angry and hurt about everything that had happened. And, you know, I was supposed to be in the prime of my life. I was freshly 18 and my career was kicking off. And then suddenly my whole life just like crumbled. And I was just angry, you know. I felt like he was taking that opportunity away from me a little bit, even though I ended up keeping on going with my music. So yeah, it felt really healthy to express that anger and make something that I now find quite like beautiful out of it. Quite cathartic. Yeah, super cathartic, that's the right word. What was his reaction to the song? I think he liked it. He, luckily I mumble, so I don't think he listened to the words that clearly. No, just kidding. My dad is an artist. So he actually said to me that he was glad that I had made something out of the situation and that he was proud of me, which was obviously like made me cry my little eyes out. But I don't know, I think I'd expected him to be angry or ashamed in a way, because, you know, he was at this point trying to rebuild his life a little bit. And I was worried that he'd be, I guess, upset that I was bringing it back up again. I imagine because he's an artist himself, you probably knew how you felt writing that song and that it was going to be a cathartic and experience for you and a very fulfilling experience for you. So, you know, I think probably the best outcome, right? Like, he's really proud that those bridges were, you know, crossed through art, really. I'm glad he was so understanding. I also was glad that, because obviously it's not only my story to tell. Like, I've got obviously a lot of family who I think would rather leave it in the past. But everyone was really supportive of me. You know, when it came to writing the album, I talked to people and I just said, look, like, I'm probably going to talk about this. But I just made it clear that I was talking about that, I guess, the effect that having that, like, trauma as a child and that, like, relationship with one of your caregivers and how it affects you as you form your first adult relationships. Like, that's what the album is about. It's not about the nitty-gritty details of, like, maybe, I don't know, what he did or, like, you know, about him specifically. It's about our relationship and how much that would affect my relationships and my life moving forward. And everyone was really understanding about it. So I'm lucky to have such supportive people around me. I shouldn't go again. You know, we've talked about sort of what the song is for you and sort of what it both means for you and does for you and for your father. Is there anything you want to sort of convey to your fans or to other people? What do you want that song to mean to them? I guess that I'm being honest now, because if you think about it, I've released so much music in this time, because I did really just, like, music became the thing I focused on to get myself through everything that was going on. But then I always just danced around the main thing that was happening in my life. I didn't write about it. when people, I'd kind of loosely in interviews and stuff be like, oh, this bad thing happened to me, but I'd never talk about it. And I think most people assumed that I'd gone through a breakup or something. And it just all felt like weird almost. Like it just felt like I was leaving out the biggest thing that had ever happened to me. So I guess I'm really excited for fans of my music to hear this album, not only because I'm finally being honest and actually really open, but also because I have co-produced it and, been involved in the music videos for the first time, like really having a hand in the whole process, finally. And it just feels like it's very me.
To finish a song like this, I imagine there's so many different creative blocks that you're going to come to that you wouldn't normally have in your normal creative process. How did you approach writing this song differently to your normal process?
I was lucky. I was writing with Lucian. I think it made it a lot easier. I used to be quite a purist about writing with other people, but I think with songs like this, it actually helps having someone in the room to even just say when something sounds good. Because when you're on your own, I think it's easy to get stuck on like this most minute of details, which can be great sometimes. But to have someone just to be like, oh, that's great, let's like do that and then move on. Like to keep it moving, I think is really good. That's the only way I've gone through blocks with songs in the past, is just to get another set of ears around it.
So in a moment, the audience is going to hear the session you've just done for us. What I love talking to artists about is no matter how many times I've heard a song or I think I know a song, after speaking to an artist about these really specific parts of the production, I then listen to it again and it takes a whole new meaning for me. Songs that I didn't think I liked before, or I thought it was about something else. And I think it's a really magical experience to listen to something with that in the back of your head, really. Yeah. So as our audience is about to hear your session, is there any specific elements you want them to really listen out to that's going to really sort of change the way they listen to this song?
Something that I was really interested in when I finished the track and started showing it to friends is I wanted them to listen to how the lyrics applied to their own life. Because obviously it's quite specifically, like I mourn the man I used to want to grow up to be is pretty, like, specifically about my dad and my relationship with him. But, the rest of the song and, like, even specific details and lines, so many of my friends connected that to, like, boyfriends that cheated on them or, like, just partners that they had. And I don't know, that's my favourite thing, and that's what I would probably urge the listener to do, is to see how it can apply to your own life, I guess, and see how like you can connect it to yourself, because that feeling of betrayal and like wanting to not love someone anymore, I think is so universal.
Molly, thank you for joining us in The Hardest Part.
Thank you for having me.
Sick when you say you see yourself in me. When I visited you, you couldn't look me in the eyes. Time's being cruel to you, and I guess so have I. When I can't stand to see you hurt, even after what you've done. I shouldn't call it again. And I still got a few of your shirts in the back of my shelves. I couldn't explain why I hold on to your things. I guess the memory of you gets the best.
Thanks to Molly Payton for coming on the show. Make sure to subscribe and follow The Hardest Part wherever you get your podcasts. We're on all major streaming platforms, that's Spotify, YouTube, and of course Apple Podcasts. This episode of the show was recorded at the Thin White Duke Studios in London's Soho. It was recorded by Max Walker and is mixed and produced by myself. Photography from today's session is by Callum Baker, and additional videography is by Giovanni Almonte. Thanks for tuning in.